Welcome back, friends and family. This is going to be a quick, exciting video that we're going to be upgrading the wiring in our homemade DIY portable power station using mostly products from Harbor Freight. We have their 2-gauge heavy-duty booster cables that we use for the wiring. We also have their Warrior brand heat shrink, and we also have some heat shrink tubing and terminal endings from Amazon. But most of the things that we're going to be using are going to be from Harbor Freight. Let's get it started, baby. Let's get it started. If you guys are familiar with Harbor Freight products, this is their Bauer modular roller. This thing is equipped with solar. We have a 1,000-watt inverter. We have everything inside. But when I built this modular roller portable power station, I used everything that I had at that time. So now I have upgraded equipment just to show you guys how to update the wiring and update this DIY portable power station. Here's the solar input. I'm going to show you guys how that works right now. Before I get started, this video is sponsored by GOKWH Battery. They are a specialized unit in lithium battery products. I'm going to leave a discount code that will get you a cool 8% or $20 off your lithium battery purchase. The code for the GOKWH battery is going to be listed above, and I'm going to leave it listed for the duration of this clip. Remember, use the link in the description or the comment section below to get your discount of 8% or $20 off of your GOKWH lithium battery purchase. Remember, be aware of scams. Anything in the comment section is going to be pinned by me, the Smalls RV Adventures. So if you see any other pin, be aware of spams. My link that's going to be pinned by the Smalls RV Adventures is going to take you right to the GOKWH website where you can purchase this battery. And remember to put my code that I have listed above that's going to get you the 8% off or the $20 discount. Let's get started with this upgrade. So most people that's not familiar with the modular roller from Harbor Freight, I'm going to show you guys how it disconnects. It's been some time for me, so it's going to be a little bit before I can show you, but it's just clips on the side, just like these clips here in the front. There's clips on the side that will allow you just to lift this top portion right off. So once you lift the top portion right off, you can see all the power and the battery that you have installed and all the wiring and everything. So I'm going to bring you guys a little closer to see. Okay, here's a closer look inside. And we want to increase the gauges of the wire. It's kind of confusing when you talk about it because this is an 8-gauge wire and we're going to increase it to a 2-gauge wire. The numbers go backwards and the wire gets bigger. We're going to upgrade this inverter at another date. But here's the circuit breaker where we have to change the wire for. We have to change 2 wires for the inverter, one for the circuit breaker, another one for the positive fuse box, and another one for the negative fuse box. So that's not going to take too long to do. We just have to make the wires. And like you can see, this is like a small little platform here where you can change the batteries really, really quick. Not the batteries, you can change the wiring, and you don't need that much wire because everything is so close together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this disconnect switch that's right here. And that takes out all the power from the battery so that we can work with the machine here without getting shocked. A good way to make sure that all the power is off is that you just turn the inverter on. You can see that the power came on and went off. That's how you know all the power is outside and nothing is being transmitted. One of the easiest things to do is to release the power from the inverter. All you're doing here, remember, all the power is off. So all I'm doing is taking the wiring off from the positive side of the inverter. And again, remember that I check the power to make sure everything is off. The next thing I can do is release the power from the bus bar by unscrewing a little nut that's here And you want to be very careful with the nuts and the washers that you don't drop them. So once I release the power from here, hold on, let me change fingers where I can easily get that off. I use this wire to measure up the new wire. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the circuit breaker. So this is a little tricky because of where the circuit breaker is and where I have the battery. And I'm kind of being lazy where I'm just going to just use it where it is to take it off. And then once I take it off, I'll screw it right back on. I know my hand is kind of blocking it, but here's the screw that I'm taking off, and here's the circuit breaker that I'm going to take off just so that I can remove the wire that's leading up to the battery. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the positive side of the battery. It's right here. I'm going to do all the positive side first, and then I'm going to move over to the negative side. And remember, I released all the power from the battery. Nothing is plugged in, just for added safety. So here's this wire, and this is the wire that's hooked up to the circuit breaker going to the battery. So I'm going to leave that over there. Next, I'm going to release the circuit breaker wire that's connected to the bus bar. Then everything is in close quarters, but I left enough space just to get everything opened up the way that I need to. My daughter Melanie is doing the recording so that I can get all of this done. So here's the battery, and the bus bar is now released. So on the positive side of the battery, I'm going to need one 2-gauge wire with 2 terminal endings. Here's another 2-gauge wire that I'm going to need with 2 terminal endings for the circuit breaker. And this on this side of the circuit breaker, I'm going to need another 8-gauge wire and 2 terminal endings. So let's get started with that. Okay, so now I gauge from where the positive power is going to go into the bus bar, and I leave a little bit more slack. So I need about this much of slack to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire cutter. Kind of difficult because this is such a large gauge wire, and I'm going to cut off what I need. Once I cut off what I need, I can make my terminal endings. So the next thing I do is I line this up with this just for the cut, the wire with the terminal ending, so I know how much wire I need to cut off. And right about there is fine, so I can crimp it in. Okay, so here's the one positive wire that I have connected. Here's another negative wire. Remember, take your guys' time because it's so easy to make mistakes. And if you're making this for someone else, you always want to make it simple as possible to have the positive wires red and the negative wires black, so that if they're trying to upgrade themselves, they can do it themselves. But this one, I'm just going to use the positive wire for the red positive wire for the positive side and the black negative wire for the negative side. The next thing we're going to try to do is we're going to put the terminal ending inside of the nut here. Remember, you want to fit all of these strands, if you can, inside. If you can't get them inside, you're going to have to go up and gauging, but you want to get the whole terminal, all of the wiring inside, double and triple check just to make sure all of the wiring is inside. It should look something like this. Okay, once you have the wire inside the terminal, you can use a crimp and crimp it all the way in as much as you can. And then we're going to do the other side now. One of my most favorite things to do is using this heat gun. This is a Harbor Freight product, And all we're gonna do, hopefully the power doesn't go off, is we're gonna heat up this wire, the heat tubing, the heat shrinking. And once you put this on, you just let it do its work. And it has different settings here where the tubing will work at a faster pace. You click up and it's slower, like less power. You click down, that's where you have the high rate of power, where I don't know if you guys are able to see it, but this is the heat shrinking at work, tightening everything up, keeping everything in place. Works really, really well. It's a Harbor Freight heat gun. Now here's the other side that we didn't do. And this also has to be shrunk down to hold the wire on and protect it. Comes on really fast. I wonder if you can put it on the fireplace and do it. That'd be pretty cool to do, right? But this heat gun is effective. No matter what method you're gonna use, it's effective. So this is just one wire that's connected and done. And of course, I'm going to keep you guys with me for all the wiring and the connections. You can actually see the glue coming out. So here's your finished product with the heat gun. You have one side and another side. That is your wire. And again, we're using 2-gauge jumper cables just to make our wires. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this positive wire back. And again, you may see me disconnecting and connecting. I just do it this way because it looks a lot simpler for anybody that's watching to see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just connecting simply. I want to see which way is more efficient to connect this wire, either this way or the other way. Either way looks really, doesn't look bad. I'll connect it back this way, and you put the washer back on, and you put the wire back on. Again, my arm may be blocking it a little bit, but once you put these pieces back on, it's really easy to manipulate this wire to get it to where you want it to go. And again, you can push it down as low as you want it to go too. See, now when you do this, you may be taking up more space because you have the bigger wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get more washers, because look how big this hole is. The screw for this will go right through it. So here's the screw. It's going to go right through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a washer that will fit into there. So again, another Harbor Freight product. This is just washers that I purchased from Harbor Freight. And you just look for a size that your screw will not go through, and you connect it here, and you can test it with the washer on to see if it will go through. If it doesn't go through, it's a good connection. So we unscrewed the positive bus bar just to get the new wire connected, because it was kind of difficult when it posted up. But all I have to do is put it back on, and it'll be all squared away to go. But now we're working on a new portion of the upgrade. So now we're upgrading the circuit breaker of the battery here. So once we upgrade this, we put the new wires on, everything should work out greatly. Now the next piece we're going to connect is the battery back into the fuse box. Now this is a 2-gauge wire, which is going to let us draw more power without any heating of the wires. And again, we're doing this because we're soon to upgrade this inverter. So let me put this on and be right back with you in a jiffy. Right. The battery is now hooked up to the circuit breaker with the upgraded wiring. Now we're going to hook the circuit breaker up to the fuse box, the positive fuse box. Then we have to worry about the negative side, but the negative side is much easier because it's only 2 wires, I believe. This is an extremely tight fit, but we have the battery reconnected to the fuse block, the inverter reconnected to the fuse block, and also we have the circuit breaker reconnected and everything is attached back. Now we're going to work on the negative fuse block. It's only 2 wires. It's just the wire from the inverter to the fuse block and the battery to the fuse block, and that's it. So that should be a simple task. Okay, here's the 8 gauge wire from the inverter to the negative fuse bar. This one is coming off. We're going to throw that away. And this is the new 2 gauge wire that we're going to connect now. Okay, so sometimes when you're doing this, you're going to have to reroute certain things. I had a wire that was already pre-cut. So I used that wire that was pre-cut to change out the battery wire going to the negative bus bar. That wire that I had, I was trying to get it connected from the negative portion of the inverter to the bus bar, but the wire was too small. As you can see, these wires are thick, so it's not much give that the wires will have. So you don't want to compromise the integrity of the wire. So I'm just going to make a longer wire to connect to the positive bus bar to the negative bus bar to the negative portion of the inverter, which is down below this positive one. Okay, this is everything hooked up. We have all of the positive connections to the, this is positive over here, all the positive connections hooked up to the positive bus bar and the circuit breaker. We have the negative gauge wires hooked up going to the battery and to the inverter. All the wiring is upgraded to pull out the maximum amount of power for this inverter and soon a 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter that we're going to put on there. But everything is connected. Let's see if it's working. To see if everything's working, we just reconnect this circuit breaker over here. And you see the power is back on. We at, what many volts is that? 13.1, I believe that says. It's a full battery. Everything is connected. Now let's seal this bad boy back up. All right, guys, this is your finished product. I'm bent over here so that I can come out in the camera feed. But we're testing out the USBs, which is here, which is the iPad connected to. I'm going to give you a closer look later. Matt, go in your house. And then we have the refrigerator, the bodega fridge right here. That's hooked up to our 12-volt outlet. You can see the outlet's on, the power is on. And I can open up the fridge here so that you can see the light that it is powered. And this here is a heater. We have everything connected where you can see the light coming on. This is about maybe a 300 to 400 watt heater. So we have all these things connected inside of the battery system, and we updated the wiring so that it won't overheat and it can handle it. The inverter is 1,000 watts, but we're going to update that later. I'm going to bring you guys in closer to show you how we recharge the battery through a NOCO port here. And then we can also recharge the battery through solar through here. This is a DIY battery. You can upgrade it as many times as you want to whatever you want, whatever that will fit in this modular roller here. So let's take a closer look now. So here's the closer look that we've been talking about. There's the heater. Let's turn this back on so that you can see the power is on. This is our channel here, by the way. Again, I have my S'mores RV Adventure sticker on there. This is just a Harbor Freight modular roller by Bauer that I converted. I cut holes in it to put the 12-volt plug and USB outlets. Here's the outlet that I have a NOCO charger inside. You just plug in an extension cord, plug it into Shore Power, and that's how it recharges there. We have your 120 volt outlets here, have extra USBs. Here is your solar connection here. All you have to do is lift this up, and then the DC port is shown. You click that back so no dust can get into it, but that's for the solar. So here's the look at it again. Final look at this upgraded module roller turned into a portable power station. Fully upgradable. 1,000-watt inverter, 1,280 watts, full of power. Pretty cool.